Hello and welcome to the Feminine Millionaire Show. I'm your host, Polly Alexander. I'm a success coach, intuitive healer, and a passionate creative. And I believe that we all have the power to manifest magic and miracles into our life. If creating success in a spiritual, feminine, and joyful way is your goal, this show is for you. You'll understand how to overcome your past, bring your soul's greatest gifts to the world, and up-level your income, impact, joy, and happiness. Let's all rise together. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Feminine Millionaire Show. I have a very interesting guest on the show today. Janis King is a creative, a tarot master, an educator, and an author who's currently traveling Europe and working remotely in her converted minibus called Big Gus, the Tarot Bus, with her husband Jeff and dog Flynn. Welcome to the show, Janis.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here, Polly.
Now, one of the things that really drew me in when I was putting together this series of women that have reinvented themselves in midlife and beyond was your incredible work history. And I'm going to attempt to sum up some of the things you've done just to give our listeners a little taste of your creative and intuitive gifts that you've expressed in so many different ways. And then I'm going to ask you some more questions about how this journey unfolded. So, amongst other things, Janis has been a singer-songwriter with 3 commercially released albums, an interior designer and project manager. She's run a record company, created and sold a unique recycled glass chandelier, opened 2 galleries, gone into the world of stand-up comedy with 2 Edinburgh Fringe shows, and she's now a tarot reader and teacher, which we're going to come to later in the show, and we're going to open up the whole world of tarot. But before we get there, were you creative as a child?
Yeah, I was always off with the fairies. And so, yeah, I guess I just did. There was a lovely moment in the gallery when I was putting out some jewellery by one of the artists that was showing with us. And I looked at some of the hammered silvers necklaces, and I remembered sitting on my dad's garage floor, hammering out solder into loops, not really knowing why. And my dad being really cross because I'd used up all his solder. But then when I looked at these bracelets, I thought, oh, that's what I was trying to make. I had no idea that I was trying to make that, but that looks very much like what I was trying to do on the garage floor with the solder. So, yes, always. And I just love creating and pathfinding and exploring.
Yeah, I can really see that. You've been creative in so many different ways in your path. Tell us where you got started. Was it with the singer-songwriting? Was it in music?
Yes, the music thing was forever. We sang as a family. We sang nursery rhymes, and I was always singing even from a really tiny, tiny child. And my parents went to a holiday camp, and there was a chap on this big stage. And I wandered off from my parents' table, wandered round the back of the stage, had no idea why. I think I was about 4, maybe 3 at the time. Found my way onto the back of the stage and walked through the curtains, and the guy was just talking to the audience, and I appeared behind him, this tiny little thing, and everybody started to laugh. And he looked around and saw me, and he said, hello, what's your name? And I told him, and he said, why are you here? And I said, because I'm going to sing a song. And he went, oh, are you? I said, yes. He said, what are you going to sing? And I couldn't think of anything because I hadn't thought that far ahead. I went a complete blank. I didn't know why I was there, really. It just felt right. And so he sort of said, excuse me, does anyone own this child? So that might be us. So that's a very powerful memory. I just loved the stage. I was just drawn to it. My uncle was a performer, and I used to go on stage with his band sometimes. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. There was an awful lot around that. And so, yes, I was a singer-songwriter. I made my living as a musician for many years. And then when I was pregnant with my eldest son, I was doing a part-time job, doing a bit of cleaning for a sort of a semi-friend who lived in a lovely house. And she had this amazing, huge kind of hand-painted antique armoire in her bedroom. And I was so just fascinated. I used to crawl around it. I couldn't believe it. It was hand painted, but not. It wasn't genuinely old, but it had been antiqued, and I loved it so much. And I do what I always do. I had to go find out more about it. So I went on a course, heavily pregnant with my firstborn, and I went on this course with this lady called Belinda Ballantyne, and I started furniture painting as a hobby, really, and sold through her showroom. And then when I came up to London, I carried on furniture painting, and then I went into mural art. Now, I have to tell you, Polly, I was told by an art teacher. In fact, I was told 3 times by my art teacher at school, who refused to let me do O-level art, and by my art teacher at the local community art centre, that I was a much better singer than I was artist. And so I should just accept that I would never make an artist, and I had no talent for it. But I'm not very good at listening, you see. So I'm not very good at doing what I'm told. So I decided to do it anyway, and I went on to do decorative arts, and I did murals for Sir Lord and Lady Harrison and for people high up in town, and I did murals for lots and lots and lots of people. And then from there got asked to do interior design for another client who I'd run out of things to paint in their house. So she said, could you take over the interior design? And I was working for an interior design company as their decorative artist. And the guy who was a very good friend of mine, a guy called Chris Drayson, who's lovely, said that he would mentor me as an interior designer. And he did, bless him, and he gave me access to his trade accounts. And so I did that for 10 years. I had my own private clients, and I ended up project managing extensions and all sorts of things, as you do as an interior designer. So all of that, and doing music and touring at the back of that. I follow trails, you see. That's what I do.
Yeah, this is so fascinating. And one thing I really pick up about you is that you've got this insatiable curiosity. And when you get interested in something, you want to learn about it. And then it seems to sort of start becoming a source of revenue or a job or a company. Is that kind of how it unfolds?
It is how it always unfolds. It is always the way. And when I'd done my 10 years in interior design, I was very jaded by it, not because I had lovely clients. I mean, they were just lovely and so patient, but I no longer felt that I could deliver them a stress-free experience because, the trades were very difficult. And to be an interior designer, I mean, a proper high-end, successful interior designer, you have to be head bitch. There is no way around it. You have to be more scary than anyone else in the room. I was going down a road with that I didn't want to do. There was no joy in that for me. And I didn't want to be constantly telling off silly men who just decided to take shortcuts. And it was becoming frustrating because I really cared about my clients. When I took on a new client, I wanted to be honest with them about what they could expect. And I started to become quite, I thought I can't make them any promises. And so I had a conversation with my husband, and we decided that I would go back into music and perhaps, record some more. So I decided to start my own label and make it a label for women only. There was no female only labels at that point. It was supposed to be just a label for me and to promote my stuff, but I can't do that because then I get interested in it and then I have to make it bigger. And so I did. And so I started behind the scenes. Always I've been interested in energy. I didn't tell you that I also qualified as a hypnotherapist somewhere along the line in there. Not because I wanted to practice, but because I was fascinated by the subconscious mind and how the brain works, subconscious blocks. And I really wanted to know more about that. So, of course, I have to go and do a course and be a hypnotherapist. So I did that. So when I started the record company, I set it up as my big experiment. This was going to be my big energetic experiment. And I called it Angelic Music. And every day I would go into my office, and every day I would ask for, I'd say, give me what I need to make this successful. Now, what you should know is that, we had hit a bit of a problem financially, my husband and I, and we were struggling a bit. Of course, that's the perfect time to start a record company. But realistic, I am not, Holly. Realistic, I am not. So I thought, well, if this energy thing is real, then what I need to do is I need to fix it that way. So I decided what I was going to do is I'm going to start a record company, but I was also going to launch it with a competition for new artists. So it wasn't going to be just about me. My husband at this point is sitting with his head in his hands going, yes, but it was supposed to be a small thing. Yeah, I know. But
I'm guessing he's used to it by now. Your little ideas grow into great oak trees.
kinda. I mean, I launched the label and everything went crazy. It was amazing. We got sponsorship from BT Communications, that were a massive media PR company who did the whole project pro bono. And it went global. We got entries from all over the world. And it was won by the daughter of a celebrity who I am not going to say who it was because there were problems later and I don't want to go down that road anymore. But it was the daughter of a celebrity and she won it. That was a problem because our moniker for the label is Not the Next Pop Princess. And she was 22 and very poppy. So that was a problem, but it was a panel of industry judges. We had amazing prizes. It was all on the level. It was incredible. And she won fair and square. So what can you do? And then I was asked by her father, who was the celebrity, if I would personally manage her. And I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. This energy stuff is dynamite. I had gone from a standing start to now I'm the personal manager of the daughter of a celebrity, and I can make this work. And so it grew and it grew and it went like a forest fire. And I was really thinking, yeah, I got this, sister. Like, I can do this stuff. And we were at the point where we were in a bidding war with Sony and Universal. And when the whole thing just hit the skids, she was not in the right place for me to confidently walk forward into a record deal with her. Again, not going to go into the details. It's not fair. And she was young at the time. But anyway, the whole thing crumbled. And with it went my life, Polly. Everything just fell apart. So it was 2.5 years' work. And what you should know about being a manager is that even though her father was bankrolling things, he wasn't paying me. So a manager gets 20% of the first money that the artist earns. So as soon as she got paid, I got paid. And we were literally in a month. I already had 30 or 40 grand on the table for her publishing on condition that we got a deal. And it all just completely fell apart. And a contract that I had signed on her behalf was reneged on. And I was threatened with a court case for, I think it was 15 grand of studio time. And so everything completely fell apart. My marriage went with it. We lost our house. The whole lot went to the wall. It was very, very serious. And I had a breakdown. I mean, it was really, really bad.
So you said that this was your breakdown. Some people call it the dark night of the soul. And I'm curious, where were you at this point? What did it feel like? Did you lose hope? Did you know what you were going to do next?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it was as bad as it gets. And I was really, really angry because I felt like I'd been duped, right? I mean, I'd done all this stuff. Everything had worked, apparently, until all of a sudden it didn't. And my mantra every day when I'd gone into my office was, give me what I need. And then I shortened it. No, I'd give me what I need to make everything all right. And then I shortened it to give me what I need. And later, when I was working with my Reiki master, my Reiki master, she said, you opened Pandora's box because when you ask energetically, give me what I need.
Right.
And yeah. So basically, they just took your life apart.
So, what do you think you needed looking back? What were the learnings from this for you?
There were so many things under the water that were wrong. You know, there ain't none of us that are perfect, Polly. I had a lot of stuff from my childhood, and as have we all, but you know, a lot of stuff which I hadn't dealt with, a lot of deep insecurities under the water. And anyway, all of that was going to be sorted.
Right. So it's sort of all, it had been bubbling underneath the surface. You were running fine, being really successful. And then suddenly everything falls apart and this stuff kind of rises up to be dealt with.
Yeah. I was given something in a meditation with a white dove on it. And I found myself in Camden Market, and I saw tarot readings up, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I was thinking about tarot reading, and I went up, and the guy behind the desk, I said, I'd like to talk about a tarot reading. He said, oh, yes, well, you'll need to speak to White Dove then. So I did speak to White Dove, and White Dove told me that my life was being taken apart and I was being moved to a different path. And that it was going to be a very hard 3 years, but there were going to be angels with me all the way, guiding me because this was really important. And so I said, no, I refuse. I refuse your path. I refuse all of this. This is all just nonsense. I don't want any of this. I want you to take it back. He said, yeah, see, that ship has sailed. So this is where you are. And nevertheless, it will happen. You have asked and you've been answered.
I think this is so interesting because, some of our biggest lessons and greatest learnings are not ones we wanted or chose.
Yeah.
They come in and we resist them, we kick and scream, and we're like, I don't want to do this. This isn't for me. This is not my path. This is not where I'm headed. This is not what I'm manifesting.
Be careful what you ask for. And as I was told, I opened Pandora's box.
I've got a feeling that in Pandora's box was your magical new direction eventually. Was this the first tarot reading you'd had?
Yes, Pandora's box definitely did contain tarot reading. And so I went off because of that mad reading with White Dove. I mean, it was a long reading, and there was a lot in it, and some things he said. My husband and I had split up, and one of the things that he said was, "You should know that your husband has unconditional love for you, but that doesn't mean anything to you now." I was in a terrible state, and then I was found myself in this room, which was a white room, and I thought this room needs a chandelier, but I have no money. I'm literally stony broke. I have literally no money. I'm getting further and further into debt all the time, but I really want a chandelier for this room, and I will not buy something cheap and nasty. I will not. I would rather make something because I just would feel better if I made something. So a very good friend of mine who was connected with me through tarot taught me about glass fusing because it just so happened that he was an art teacher as well. And I made the chandelier, and back we are on the trail, Polly. We're back on the trail. Now I've got to find out about glass fusing. I contacted a gallery, showed them the light. They loved it. What happened was I ended up making this chandelier, and I ended up through lots and lots of weird synchronicities opening my own gallery and then opening another gallery. And then I was unable to sing, though. I had lost my voice completely. I couldn't sing, couldn't go anywhere near music. Every time I tried to sing, I just cried. I just couldn't sing at all. So this became an outlet for me, and color has always been massively important and linked to music. So color became my second thing.
So this desire for self-expression, it's woven throughout your life in different ways. It's almost like a fuel you need in your tank to be operating.
Yes, it very much is.
Let's start at the basics. What is tarot?
Tarot is a way of communicating with what we can't see. So we can communicate with our subconscious, we can communicate with our higher self, and we can communicate with the superconscious or energetic world, which is the place that has all information. And in that place, we can see 360, we can see under the water in relationships, we can literally find out almost anything we want to know.
Amazing. I've noticed you say on your website that tarot can give people a superpower over their lives. What are some of the benefits of tarot?
Well, it means that we can stop being so confused. Because the trouble is that that's what we are. We're just confused and we don't know what to do and we feel stuck and we don't know why other people are doing what they're doing and we want them to do a thing and they're not doing it and we don't understand why. We don't understand why nothing's working. And life is just like being caught in a maze, you know? It's like if we could see from above, we'd see ourselves as a little ant, and there's all these big high hedges all the way around us, and we can't see where we're going, and we can't see what we have to do to get to a place that is not this place. And so that's what tarot gives us. It gives us the ability to see.
Do you think your life would have been different if you discovered tarot in your 20s?
Yes, I did have the opportunity to go into the esoteric arts. I was told I went to a spiritualist church and did some psychometry. My mother just volunteered me. And I was told after that that I should go into development, but I refused it again. I think I was about 21 at the time. And I thought, well, I'm a singer, I'm a musician. That's what I love. I don't want to do dead people things. So I refused the call at that point. But something under the water stayed active for sure. But I don't think I was mature enough, Polly, if I'm honest. I think I was too young and I think I was too headstrong. And I just think I wasn't ready.
Yeah, I can relate to that. When I was in my early 20s, I went to see a crystal healer in London for a session. I was working in a job. And at the end of the session, he said, "You've got abilities, you've got healing abilities. I can teach you if you like." And I remember thinking, what? That's weird. Like, definitely not. Like, I'm working in fashion. I've got things to do. I want to be hanging out with my friends. I don't want to do that weird stuff. Like you said, I just wasn't ready. It just wasn't the right time. And it's something I would circle back to. So, I really recognize that. I always say an opportunity will come back to you. You'll never miss it if it's meant for you. It'll circle back in some way.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I've always just been fascinated by energy and how to get control of it, how to get control of us, me, how to get control of me. How can I control this thing? Because I've had some amazing opportunity in my life, which I have screwed up royally and thrown some opportunities that most people would have considered their one big hit. And I've had several of those and backed away from them. And so that's what I was talking about when I said I want to learn to get out of my own way, and so I don't keep screwing up the big chances that I get. So that's why I've been so interested in it. It's been a lifelong study, I think, for me.
So, tarot has now become your full time passion, and you're giving readings and you're teaching. You developed a new way of teaching tarot. Can you share more about that?
Yes. Well, teaching tarot is wonderful because tarot is unendingly fascinating. And it's just wonderful when people really get it and can start to use it in a way that's useful to them. And I think that's the great thing. I had another kind of, I suppose you call it an awakening thing. And I got taken to the Arthur Findlay College where I was hooked up, I guess, with this guide called Obin. And Obin worked through me and I'm brought to life this life code tarot deck. It didn't change anything about the structure, but it changed the way in which we see it, the way it sort of changed the light on it. And it was quite fundamental. And now when I teach from that perspective, it just makes such sense. The trouble is that when a lot of people learn tarot, it doesn't make sense. It's just like a big memory thing that you have to do. And that's really frustrating. But when you learn it in this new way, it's like a light bulb coming on. And I've had students who have done the first course and just sort of said, well, I haven't done one reading, but I kind of get it and I feel differently about life, weirdly. I can sort of see it differently. I can see it through a different lens. And that's why I find it so exciting, because it's everything. And Polly, when I asked for give me what I needed and what I was ranting at God for was a map. And I said, why can't we just have a map? Why can't we just have something that shows us how to do life, for God's sake? Because it's so damn hard. And that's what I was shown with tarot. I was shown a map of how to do life. And it really is quite amazing.
What kind of questions, advice, support can we get from tarot?
The question is all, and the questions are very important in tarot. So the will I questions are called closed questions because they invite a yes or no answer. And the trouble is that tarot is very chatty, a bit like me, and it likes to add value. So if you ask will I, it won't give you a yes or no answer. It just doesn't respond to closed questions very well. Questions have to be open-ended and have to invite tarot into the conversation. So a better question would be, I want to get married and meet the man with whom I'm going to be happy. What should I do? What should I do now? How can I make that happen? What am I doing which is in my way?
I love that. Could you give an example for people that want to change career? Because find a lot of women in midlife kind of now we have careers in chapters, just like you've shared. What's a good question someone could ask that's wondering what their next work chapter looks like?
Yeah, I do a lot of pathfinding readings, a lot of readings for people who want to change path. And so what we do is we treat it a bit like a detective situation. So we're going in and I will just start asking questions. So when I do a reading, I'm having a three-way conversation. So I'm asking Obin and I'm asking different questions. And so what comes back, I may ask a follow-up question. Then I will relay that to the client and ask them for their feedback on that. And then we build the next level. So we do it in levels. And obviously, I don't know what's going to come up in the reading. So we're always responding to each individual story. And so tarot will come back and it will say, well, have you thought about this? And by the way, ask your client this. And so, whatever the conversation is, we'll find our way to an answer that the client can then action.
I love the way you explain that, that it's like this sort of interactive dialogue or conversation. And you just ask the question, you hear the answer, then you ask the next question that you're guided to ask.
Yes, I'm not a big fan of fortune telling because fortune telling paints you into a corner. It positions you with no power. You're saying, what will happen? This will happen. Well, what if your path is not what you want it to be? We want to use tarot in a way that actually makes life better and hands us the keys, gives us more power to make decisions which are actually going to mean something. While it's fun at a dinner table to relate the story of the woman at the fair who told you that, in 3 years' time you'd meet this person and this would happen, it doesn't actually help you. It's not making your life better. It's an interesting anecdote, but we want to take control here, don't we? We want to drive the bus.
And how has tarot made your life better? I mean, you are literally driving a bus right now.
I am literally driving a bus. Well, in fact, no, I'm not driving the bus because my husband won't let me drive the bus, and that is a slight bone of contention. But tarot has shown me where I'm going wrong. It guides me to the next steps. It enables me to get some objectivity on my own emotional responses. It has revolutionized my life. And as I say, I refused the call many times. All the time when I was in the gallery, that I had friends in the esoteric healing world who were saying to me, "You've just got to be doing tarot. Why are you not doing it?" And I said, "Because I don't want to make a business out of it, because that's what I always do."
And here we are.
And here we are. And in the end, it was because of comedy, really. So I got to the point where I really wanted to do the comedy full time. And I had started reading for clients. And my husband, we're back together, by the way, said, maybe it's time now to think about making the tarot into a business, because it would support your comedy, because you could earn money and you could do what you want to do, and that's what you want to do. So I did, except that's not, because as soon as I took the brakes off, as soon as I said yes, they went, right then, hurrah, let's go, go, go. I'm not in comedy at the moment because I just don't have time, because, tarot is my life, really.
So, is this your last and final chapter, or would you not rule anything out?
Oh, of course it's not my last final chapter. Of course not. I'll be making chapters until the day I fall off my perch, Polly. That's just what keeps me going. It keeps my blood pumping. No, of course it's not. Absolutely. But tarot is incredibly important, and whatever I do, it will be part of that. And I have a book going through the publishing process at the moment. I have an idea for a documentary and an associated book for that. I have ideas coming out of every pore, and I love that. My biggest challenge is controlling it. I have my own tarot deck. So the Life Code deck is the deck that was channeled through Obin, and that is for sale. And the book that is going through the publishing process is the Life Code book. So it's about the philosophy and the all of that stuff that came through Obin after I'd been to the Arthur Findlay School. So yes, I have got my own deck, and it's been a fantastic journey. And it's a wonderful thing to create your own deck, especially when you've got a disembodied force kicking you up the bum, going, okay, come on, next.
I love it. I love it. And when your book comes out, we'll have to have you back on the show to dive deeper into that.
Thank you.
How can people start working with you? How can people dive into the world of tarot with you? What are the options?
Well, all you have to do is contact me. You can do that through my website, which is janisking.uk. And there is all about the deck on there as well. I have courses. There's a free little book on how to start using your intuition more effectively, which I think I've given you the link for. So they can, if they have a look at that, and hopefully that's a free ebook, and that's quite interesting and useful. One of the things we have trouble with is telling the difference between intuition and fear. And the book goes into how you can navigate through those differences. Because whatever we need to do, we need to be able to trust our own sense. It's really, really important, whether we're in business or relationships or whatever. We have to be able to tell the difference between intuition and fear. It's fundamental for all of us, whether you read tarot or not. It's a superpower that we all have.
Great. We're going to put a link in the show notes. You'll be able to scroll down as you're listening to this episode and see a link to Janis's website, her social media, and of course, that amazing free gift to help you develop your intuition, which I know will be very, very powerful. I am too scared to ask you what's next for you. But I'm going to ask you a different question, which I like to ask everyone that's on the show. And that is, what's true abundance for you at this stage in your life?
True abundance is a life that is rich in experience and brings you the level of enjoyment in your life that you wish. That's true abundance. I have been told very clearly by Obin and by the guides I work with that we're not here to be unhappy. And that if we are unhappy, there's something wrong in the mix, that's all. So an abundant life is a life that is rich in experience and joyful experience. So, obviously money is in there. We all know, we all want more money. Everybody does. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. I'm sure you still want more. But nevertheless, what we want is a life experience that feels rich, don't we? That gives us joy and keeps us moving and keeps us alive. That's an abundant life. That's my definition of an abundant life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think that's just rooted in so much integrity, because this is how you've lived your life. a life rich in experiences, and you've been available for it all, the many, many highs and some very intense lows. And it just strikes me as you're someone that's really explored their creativity in so many multifaceted ways, and you've risen again and again and followed your curiosity. And I think it's a huge inspiration for everybody listening, the possibilities that lie within us when we follow our curiosity, when we allow our creativity to flow, and when we find tools that can really help us make sense of life. And thank you for sharing such a powerful tool that can do exactly that today, tarot.
Oh, that's my pleasure. I would like to just add one last thing, which I think is so important. And I hear from clients all the time, you know, people tell you can't do things, right? I got told I couldn't paint. I got told I couldn't do this. I got told I couldn't do that. You know, people know squat, Polly. They really know squat. And they have no right to tell you can't do anything. And you just have to find your way of doing it. If you find yourself saying, I can't do this because, find another way. There will be a way of expressing it. There will be a way that you can make something happen. Don't listen to what anybody else says. And that's something that I've found to be very, very true.
I love it. I love it. What a powerful place to end. Thank you. Thank you for your words of wisdom.
Oh, my pleasure, Polly. And thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute delight.
What a great episode today's interview was, and what an incredibly multifaceted creative entrepreneur Janis is, like many of you listening. So after we recorded this interview, I actually booked a tarot reading with Janis and got some powerful downloads from it. I got some answers to challenges I'd been trying to resolve, some ways forward, and I also got some new directions that came through. And one of the things that came through was what I'm about to offer you. It's the Stress Solution Masterclass. This is something I've never done before, and it's especially for women entrepreneurs who are struggling with stress and overwhelm. So if you know you want to grow your business, but you just feel like you haven't got time to do everything you need to, you feel like you're running out of energy, and sometimes it's like pushing uphill, well, this masterclass is for you. I'm going to be diving into how to overcome stress and overwhelm and why you land there in the first place and what you can do about it. So you can sign up with the link in the show notes and read more there. It's happening on July the 2nd, and I look forward to seeing you there. Have a wildly abundant week. Bye for now.